A Giants podcast for Giants fans
by Giants fans.
It's Shaun Morash.
On the sideline, into the end zone. Touchdown, Giants!
From the offseason to the wins and the losses, it's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome inside One Giant Step, our Week 7 preview edition. And now I know why Mike Francesa always says it every single week. It flies by, okay? I already got my Thanksgiving invite from my aunt, okay? Christmas will be before you know it, okay? It's the Giants and Eagles, and it's nice not to be playing them in December. We have a nice October matchup between the Giants and Philadelphia Eagles Sunday at MetLife Stadium. Bryce Gelman, who was with us, has already been to 2 games this year, both the primetime Cowboy and Bengal tilts. I'll be moseying my fat ass to the MetLife parking lot Sunday morning, and I will be in attendance. Bougie seats, though. Bougie seats. I can't be seen out there in the public anymore. No, I'm just kidding. But I will be in bougie seats. Psyched up Giants, Eagles. Bryce, before we even get into everything we're going to do in this pod, right? The fantasy, the reality, full disclosure. Also, if you hear any dejectedness in our voice, it's not strictly the Giants. We are taping this immediately following the Yankees Game 3 loss with Luke Weaver blowing the save to Noel Christmas, your sister's ass, miss whatever, as he hit that 2-run bomb to tie it. And Bryce basically thinks the Yankee season over. I'm telling him to calm down. But now we got to tape and talk a little Giant football here, Bryce. So, Bryce, gather yourself. You ready to do this?
I'm as ready as I'll be. So
okay.
Let's get this over with. Come on.
Let's get this over with. So Sunday's a big day, right? It's Saquon's return. Yeah. We sat here and we did the recap pod earlier in the week. Thank you for everybody that listened, download, subscribed everywhere podcasts are available, including free on the Audacy app. And at the end of the pod, I think one of the most unique moments in the very short 3-year plus history of One Giant Step happened, which was we talked about the entire game. This, that, and the other. And Bryce basically ends the podcast with asking me, are we not going to get into the Andrew Thomas injury? To which you got maybe the most natural and raw sports radio reaction you will ever get out of me, which was, what injury? What are you talking about?
It's crazy.
Which, go back and listen if you didn't hear that. And little did I know that the moment Bryce said those words and he left his mouth, because I did not know. I went to bed Sunday night not watching the postgame show, and we taped that very early Monday morning. Had no idea. The Giants world seemingly is flipped upside down, as now we find out that Andrew Thomas did in fact have Lisfranc surgery. He is out for the year. Bryce, I'm devastated. Let's just start here before we get to the Eagles and everything. I am devastated for a couple of reasons. Number one, Andrew Thomas when the Giants play and Andrew Thomas when the Giants don't play. Andrew Thomas when Daniel Jones plays and Andrew Thomas when Daniel Jones doesn't play. They're 2 different teams. And in fact, if you go back to last season, after Daniel Jones was gone for the year with the torn ACL, and everybody wanted to credit Tyrod Taylor and the rise of Tommy DeVito, and look at the balls they're throwing down the field, there was a funny thing nobody wanted to mention, and that was that Andrew Thomas had returned from the injury he suffered on opening night versus Dallas, and the reason Daniel Jones basically got hurt and got his neck spun off is because Andrew Thomas was out. The Giants score, and this was according to Bobby Skinner from Talking Giants the last 2 years, 8 points less per game without Andrew Thomas as compared to with him. He is that massive a loss. Now, the Eagles, for instance, this week will be without their left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Teams play without tackles all the time in the NFL. It is a depth concern. The reason this is seemingly a bigger issue with the Giants is twofold. Before I get Bryce's thoughts, let me just explain. Number one, the Giants don't have answers at backup tackle. They don't.
What are you talking
about?
Josh
Azudu and
He's
Evan
a legend. What are you talking about? Josh Azudu, one of the best tackles in the league.
Right. And that's really bad. And usually teams can just kind of find some kind of serviceable guy that's not good, but they could function as an offense. The Giants had tackle play where the offense literally could not function. And part of them not functioning is also a Daniel Jones confidence thing. He loses all mental confidence without Andrew Thomas playing. So that's why I do think Andrew Thomas at left tackle for losses maybe greater impacted on the Giants than if any other team lost their left tackle. And I don't think I'm overstating that. It's just the simple fact. And that part of it makes it devastated, Bryce. So where are you at on this news?
So I just want to preface all of this with this, and I'm trying not to let this Yankees pessimism impact what I'm trying to get at here, which Yankees win or loss was going to be the end is nigh. Like the you cannot understate the importance for Andrew Thomas on the Giants team. And you just did. You stated it perfectly. You stole my thunder. You took the words right out of my mouth. Josh Ezeudu as the backup to Andrew Thomas. As you mentioned, not all NFL teams have a ready guy to come off the bench and fill in and do a good job. I'm not going to say any team does, but 90% of the league doesn't have a really good, solid backup tackle. It is what it
really is. Put it this way, really good isn't even the word. It's just, how about use the word player?
Serviceable.
Great.
Serviceable.
Great.
And Josh Ezeudu in the short time, it wasn't even a short time. What did he play? You start 5 games at left tackle last year. I want to say 5. He ranked 65th out of all the tackles in the league at pass blocking efficiency. He is not someone that you could rely on for a long period of time. And guess what? Newsflash, Shaun, they're going to have to rely on him for a long period of time because there, checks notes, a lot of games left in this season. Yeah. So it's unfortunate. I didn't want it to sit out here and proclaim the season to be over. 2-4 didn't look good as it was. I don't want to say there's nothing to be excited about. There's nothing to look forward to. The defense is really solid. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, more on this podcast. I love watching the defense. I love watching what Shane Bowen has been doing. Yeah. I love watching and honing in on what Dexter Lawrence brings at defensive tackle, yada, 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 whatever. Offensively, this is a major problem. And it came out of left field. You had no idea. You are the most checked into all of the Giants news. You watch every game twice, 3 times, sometimes 4 times. The fact that you didn't know that, and then for that injury to turn into a season-ending injury, it's insane. Crazy. It really is. I sat there thinking about it when I saw the news, and I'm like, Shaun didn't even know about it.
Which is funny because I thought I was almost embarrassed to know, but then I thought about it. I said, you know what, though? If that game's at 1 or 4 o'clock, I probably do, right? Because you're on Twitter, the Sunday night game, it emerges, you track more of the post-game stuff. Game ends at freaking 11:30 at night. I'm going to bed with 2 young kids. I wasn't as locked into the post-game stuff. And I woke up, and basically one of the first things I did was do a podcast with you. And on top of that, I'm focused in on the Giants. I'm trying to, wake up. Okay, I watched the Mets on mute. What I missed with you, the baseball played a part. It's just the unbelievable turns that took for the Andrew Thomas news to reach me was incredible.
Shaun, the other aspect of it is he came back in the game.
Yeah,
with the injury.
Which
played through the injury.
I'm 2 ways on this. Number one, is that reckless by Dable because we've seen him do this before with Gano and everything to allow that to happen, or is it just toughness out of Andrew Thomas that he played through? Now it doesn't look like he further hurt it by playing.
Yeah,
it kind of is what it is, but nonetheless, it's devastating. Now, as I always try to do, I will try to find a positive in something, and clearly, I gave you all the stats. I know how devastating this is. Here is the positive to me. I still have not seen Josh Ezeudu / Evan Neal play NFL snaps, thankfully, with Carmen Bracillo as their offensive line coach. And we have given Carmen Bracillo a lot of credit. The Giants' offensive line, I think in tandem with the fact that they have actual players on it, but combined with the fact that he seems to be a really good offensive line coach. Oh, by the way, he basically has made Jermaine Illuminor's career. He turned Greg Van Roten into a very serviceable guard who had bounced around the league. And when he got with Priscilla with the Raiders and now here, he's been fine. I've seen big strides from John Michael Schmitz here. I think we have a really good offensive line coach with the New York Giants. Whether that means he could take 2 guys and hope one of them becomes playable, I don't know that. And I don't necessarily have confidence with that. But I'm at least open to saying, I don't know. Nobody knows. Maybe you can make one of them serviceable. Now, I will say this, and I've seen a lot of people argue this, and maybe you're with me on this, Bryce, as well. As we sit here taping this on a Thursday night, the Giants seemingly are giving Josh Ezeudu every opportunity to play left tackle and keep the other 4 spots on the offensive line the same, which would mean no Evan Neal starting. However, they have at least given Jermaine Illuminor snaps at left tackle with the thought of Evan Neal staying at right tackle. In essence, if Ezeudu goes down / and they don't feel comfortable with watching Ezeudu in practice, they could move Illuminor over to left tackle, play Evan Neal right tackle. I will tell you this. Obviously, this coaching staff has earned my trust. I believe in whatever they're looking at in practice. I clearly can't see that. My gut reaction would be, I know you don't want to mess up everything else that's going on with the Giants offensive line that's been really good, but the blind side is so important, and even more so with this specific quarterback, We don't have another veteran quarterback here that could just make do and feel the press. We know the deal with Jones when he feels the heat, that I would personally prefer to move Jermaine Illuminor to left tackle and see if Evan Neal could rise at right tackle and leave Azudu there on the bench. That's my preference. I'm open to be wrong about that if Brasillo gets the most out of Azudu, but that is my preference. I don't know what your preference is there, Bryce.
Hey, Shaun, I don't hate that idea. I really don't at all. I do understand the need for continuity with the offensive line in keeping the line as it is. But as you said, and I've seen it, we've all seen it as Giants fans, Daniel Jones needs a really good offensive lineman at left tackle for him to be able to navigate the pocket as well as he does. And keep in mind, I say as well as he does, it's not like he still does it well with Andrew Thomas, but it's like as good as it could possibly be. He has mental issues. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. He has something up in his mind. I don't blame him because of how bad the offensive line was when he was growing as a player, when he was young and early in his career. I don't blame him, but that's the case. So I'm not totally opposed to moving Illuminor to left tackle. But then if you do that, you put Evan Neal at right tackle. Like, it's like we're back to square one from last year.
I do want to remind you,
we have to scream about him every week.
I do want to remind you, and I want to say this from the bottom of my heart. Watching Evan Neal play football disgusts me, and the Giants are in an extreme hole at the offensive line because he's been such a failure. The Giants did make the playoffs with Evan Neal as their starting right tackle in 2022 because they had really good left tackle play. Okay. Yeah. I'm just saying.
But that's also like relying on the fact that Illuminor is going to be able to translate as well as he plays right tackle to left tackle.
And he won't be dominant, but he has played left tackle with the Raiders.
Yeah.
He won't be as dominant as Andrew Thomas, but he will be the best option they have at left tackle where you can at least function as an offense. And I think that's what we're back to, right? Square one. We were getting elevated as an offense because of the offensive line. I'm going back to lowering the bar of can we just function as an offense with the offensive line? Because, in a lot of plays last year, Josh Azudu left tackle, he couldn't function as an offense. So,
yeah.
Look, I'm sure he's worked his ass off. There's been no indication that Josh Azudu is not a good kid that puts in work. Like that part of it, he cared mightily when Daniel Jones got hurt. And there's been no indication that Carmen Brasillo hasn't done wonders with other offensive line defense. So I'm open to that.
Let's see it for a week. Let's see it for a week. And then after that, we can adjust.
The problem is all it could take is 1 week and Daniel Jones's head is falling off and there's an injury guarantee too. So that's a problem. Let's hope not for that. All right.
Yeah.
Let's spin it forward to the other main attraction, the main storm here, and that's Saquon Barkley returning here to MetLife Stadium. We're in a world where I don't think any of us would have predicted when the schedule came out and you knew Saquon had already signed with the Eagles and it was week 7, that both the Mets and Yankees would be in the midst of AL and NLCSs. The Jets and Aaron Rodgers be a circus. And, it's becoming a bigger story. I sense the Saquon thing has picked up steam in the last 48 hours or so, just from my perspective working at WFAN. But there's just been so much on the mind in the New York sports world that it hasn't, if the baseball teams were eliminated, we could have been talking about this game for 2 weeks. Saquon's coming, Saquon's coming the way the Giants had played, and it got to the back burner. Now it's heated up a little bit. This is still a division rival. This is Saquon Barkley playing in MetLife Stadium for the first time as an Eagle. And Saquon, for some reason, I don't know if you took it this way, Bryce, I think unintentionally ignited flames because he was asked about what kind of reception he expects and being booed at MetLife Stadium. And he answered for the fans saying, I think everybody here is over it. He doesn't expect any kind of reception. What? What? I want to make something clear here because fandom, I think, can sometimes be misconstrued. And I'm a big fan. A lot of us with fans, we don't realize in real time, maybe we do, we're idiots, right? Saquon Barkley went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley went to a place that was financially the right move for him. I don't begrudge him for that. However, financially stable or not, it's still the Philadelphia Eagles, who Giants fans hate, who many of us on the younger side of Giants fandom hate more than the Dallas Cowboys. And you were the face of the franchise that we saw in Hard Knocks. You don't want to lose, and you went to the arch bitter rival. You will get booed. And you had a little video when you signed when your cute daughter, and I don't take it. Look, I have kids. Does this mean we're going to win now, Daddy? You had no problem posting that. And that was a little shot at Giant fans. we hate the idea of anybody in the Eagle uniform, especially somebody that we feel dirty that we once rooted for. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh, you're an Eagle. We rooted for you. You're an Eagle. He's going to get booed loudly, and I'm going to be in the house. I'm looking forward to booing him. Again, that booing a guy doesn't mean you think they're a bad human being. It's sports fandom. And my sports fandom is, Saquon, you're scum. You're a Philadelphia Eagle. And I hope the Giants kick their ass. So where are you at on your feels with Saquon? You're a little younger than me, and this was a guy who had a lot of, I guess, bright moments, but he was an incredibly frustrating player, as we've highlighted on this podcast numerous times. Where are you at? And I think furthermore, I also want to, what is your prediction for Saquon on Sunday, both in reaction and what he actually does on the field?
Well, I think my hatred for the Eagles and for specifically Saquon Barkley is well documented on this podcast. I despise the Eagles almost as much. I know this is going to sound crazy, and I'll get some hate for it. I think I despise the Eagles more than I love the Giants. Like I'm telling you, that's
tough, man. I can't.
Fiber in my being. You don't understand. Like I didn't say 100%. Like it's close. It's close. It's not. It does not supersede how I feel about the Giants. My love for the team. It's very close. How much I despise that organization. How much I despise Nick Sirianni. His own fans do as well. But there are multiple reasons why Saquon doing what he did flustered someone like me, upset someone like me, a younger Giants fan who has grown up with the Eagles playing as well as they have and destroying the Giants and actually having some success in the playoffs, because the Cowboys have destroyed the Giants time and time again. What is it, 13 straight games that Dak Prescott has won, or 12 straight games?
I've lost count. And the fact that I've lost count is disgusting.
I couldn't care less, Shaun. I really couldn't. Like, it is what it is. They're the better team. They beat us. They don't do anything in the playoffs, so it doesn't matter to me.
That's true, too. The Eagles' recent Super Bowl kind of took away, because you always had that to laugh at the Eagles about. That's true.
To be fair, I hate myself for this. I was rooting for the Eagles in that Super Bowl, because up until that point, I know it's crazy. That was my hatred for Tom Brady. I hated Tom Brady more than I hate
see, I had the different tact. You know what pissed me off about that Super Bowl? I wanted the Giants to be the only ones to beat Brady in a Super Bowl.
I definitely didn't look at it that way, but now when you say that, I mean, 6 years later, that makes sense. Yeah. But I digress. My hatred for the Eagles is like it flows deep within me. So the idea that Saquon, there are a lot of fans who think the exact same way, because I talk to a lot of Giants fans and they share the same sentiments that I feel. The fact that Saquon Barkley really thinks there's a chance that he's not going to get booed at MetLife Stadium. If you breathe and you wear green at MetLife Stadium and you're associated with the Eagles, you're going to get booed. Now, all day long. Factor in what Saquon Barkley did. Understood he made the right financial decision for his family. If he just went and shut his mouth and said, guys, I know you hate it, I had to do that. What he did after, getting on Twitter, getting on social media, and starting the fueling the flames of the hatred between the fans and him and the Eagles, it made me lose so much respect for him, Shaun. I was hurt when he left. I understood the move, and we talked about it at the time. And I said, listen, it was the right move for Joe Schoen. I don't blame Saquon. But then he had to go out there, and as you said, with his daughter and all the stuff on Twitter. I chose to put that out of my mind. I don't fully remember what happened. All I remember is that it did, and it rubbed me the wrong way. It rubbed a lot of Giants fans out there the wrong way, even more than his signing originally. So the idea that he's not going to get booed, I hope he's booed out of the stadium. I hope he averages negative yards per rush. I hope he fumbles 3 times and has 6 drops. I know every Giants fan out there shares the exact same belief and the wants, and like, this is almost a need at this point. We need Saquon to go out there and you know what to bet.
And he may. Which will bring us to the discussion about the game. The fantasy versus reality portion of this, where we're going to give you a fantasy play. We're going to give you the reality of the game. This is our way of kind of touching on exactly what can unfold. And a couple, I think, nuggets before we get into this. Number one, Malik Neighbors, as of Thursday afternoon, completely cleared out of concussion protocol. Looks like he's a go. Thank God. Can't wait to watch him play football again for the New York Giants. And he could help alleviate some of the offensive line questions as well, if you can kind of get the ball out quick to him, this, that, and the other. Also, The Philadelphia Eagles are loaded up with injuries. They're going to be probably without their top corner, Darius Slay, their left tackle, Jordan Mailata. Jalen Carter, we'll see. He popped on the injury report with a shoulder issue on Thursday. Did not practice. Have to practice on Wednesday. Dallas Goedert might be out of this game as well. The Eagles are extremely, extremely banged up. And if you kind of did a bird's eye view on what was going on in Philly right now, there's a lot of panic going on with they hate the head coach. Now the team is beat up. They played like crap last week versus Cleveland, which is really brings me back again to the freaking Andrew Thomas injury. And to an even lesser extent, the Kayvon Thibodeau injury, though we felt good about Ojulari a week ago. Man, if Kayvon and Thomas are playing in this game, I don't even think it's like a trendy, shillish thing to say. I think a lot of people would say, Giants are going to win this game. I still think it's very much open and available for the Giants. I think the Thomas injury probably wears on them long term, but the Eagles are very ripe for the picking this week, Bryce. They really are. So let me get to the fantasy reality part of this from my perspective. Fantasy, it's right there on a silver platter. The Giants are going to feed Malik Neighbors all game long if they're not getting a taste from 2 games. And I don't care how easy this is to throw at it. They're going to design quick screens for him. They're going to design so much quick game for Malik Neighbors to probably get the ball out of the hands of Daniel Jones fast. And also, I think Giant fans want a big Malik Neighbors game because on top of booing Saquon, you know what the next best thing is? And I didn't like the chant to be in the leak chants in MetLife Stadium every time Malik Neighbors catches the ball. It's now twofold. Giants fans miss him after 2 weeks, so they're excited to see him. And number 2, let Saquon Barkley know, as Giants fans, we got our new toy now. We don't need you.
Sheriff in town.
Yeah, and I think that kind of the silver lining part of the Saquon return thing is going to be how awesome Malik Neighbors is in this game. Kind of bringing it full circle. So Malik Neighbors is my fantasy plan. I know that's a lazy way of going about it, but I mean, no kidding. The Giants just played 2 games at them. They're going to go back to the well a ton. The reality of the game. I am done questioning this Giant defense. Last week, I did a whole freaking episode of the podcast where I was still down and still questioning this defense. How are they going to slow them down? How are they going to slow them down? And the Giants, they played unbelievable versus one of the most high-octane defenses. And Brian Burns came alive, and I know that him and Dex have been on the injury report, but they've both said they're going to play. The Giants have a legitimate defense. Now, what the last couple of weeks when the Giants have played better, what have teams gotten away from? They haven't run the ball well in the Giants, or at least tried to stick with the run enough. I'm still questioning that vulnerability, and that leaves the door open for Saquon Barkley to make some plays in this game. But the Eagles are also missing their left tackle. And versus the Giants pass rush, that's going to be an issue. And Jalen Hurts makes a lot of mistakes, and Nick Sirianni is very thick-headed. I think all of those things very much play into the Giants' strengths on defense. So the reality of the game for me is, don't get overwhelmed or think if Saquon has a couple big runs like, oh my God, freak out. Keep doing exactly what you're doing defensively. And I think the reality is they're going to get a turnover or 2 in this game from Jalen Hurts. And I think you'll get a boneheaded decision or 2 from Nick Sirianni. And if you can't tell, I'm leaning this way, and I will give my game pick. Again, I think the Andrew Thomas injury is going to be a problem. And I think the Giants are going to score less points than they probably should in a game like this. And the Andrew Thomas injury will be a problem long term. But for a week, and we saw this the last week of the year, this is as much an anti-Eagle pick as it is a pro-Giant pick. I think the Giants are going to find a way to win this game. Wow. I really do. Wow. I really, really do. And I think it could be very chaotic. It could be them with a lead holding on and having to stop them late. Maybe that's where a turnover comes. But I think the Giants win this game something like 23-19, something kind of semi-sloppy where field goals are involved. And by the way, you're good 1 week on field goals, you're bad another week on field goals. But I've also, we focus on the Giants. I watched a lot of Eagle football, dude. They almost lost to the Browns last week. And the Browns have no offensive linemen whatsoever. And the Giants are missing their left tackle. Again, in a week when the Giants are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt is ripping Josh Azudu's head off, yeah, probably I won't be here in a week screaming, I think they definitely will win. I think the Giants are going to have a little bit of a moment here. And it wouldn't shock me in the least if Saquon got in the end zone. It also wouldn't shock me in the least if Saquon's throwing a pass and the ball pops up in the air and, it goes for an interception. Because he might be overthinking this moment too. And that can happen as well. Yeah, Bryce, I think the Giants are going to find a way for a week to get back to some good times, and Neighbors going to have a big week. And I think they're going to win a game semi-sloppily, but because their defense rise to the occasion and the Eagles can help themselves. So give me the Giants to win the game 23-19. Now take it away.
So fantasy-wise, I was going to go Neighbors too. but I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be boring. I don't want to give the exact same pick. I think Neighbors is going to get fed. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know that. In this game, with the struggles that the Giants are going to inevitably have on the offensive line, not to say that the Eagles have this undeniable, unbelievable pass rush. They don't. As you said, they barely beat the Browns. The Browns have no offensive line. What did the Giants sack them 8 times? The Browns, I believe. So
Bryce Huff's been terrible for the Eagles.
Bryce Huff, terrible. Not good whatsoever. I know Jets fans are really upset about losing him originally. I don't think that they're that upset anymore. The Giants in this game are not going to get into the end zone. Greg Joseph is my pick for fantasy this week. I would have said
there's still a chance. I just want to make sure there's still a chance Friday Gano is activated.
Okay,
you know that, right?
So either way, no matter who the kicker is, if it's Gano, if it's Joseph, the kicker for the Giants, no matter who that is my fantasy play for this week. And before, I mean, not that you'd even have this decision. That I really hope there's no one out there with your fantasy team where you're having to make a decision between Graham Gano and Greg Jones. I really hope that that's not the case. So I think the reality of this game is that the Giants will get home to Jalen Hurts. They will force 3 and outs. They will force Jalen Hurts to make a mistake or two. He will throw a pick. He may fumble. Saquon is going to get his, though. I really think Saquon's going to eat. We've seen it happen so many times. I feel like just in my sports fandom where you've got so much hype surrounding a former player returning home. A lot of the time it happens with the Knicks or a hated player coming into the Garden. LeBron, how many times did he score 50 in the Garden?
Right.
You see it happen so much. The mecca of that's a basketball, but in New York, teams elevate their play when they come. In this case, it's East Rutherford. It's not New York, but it's New York. You're playing the New York Giants. The spotlight, the stage is there. Saquon Barkley is going to have a great game. He will. I think he's going to rush for 120 yards, have 50 yards receiving. He'll score a touchdown. He might score 2. The Giants are going to lose this game 20-9, Shaun. I don't see after what I witnessed in person last week at the Bengals game. The Bengals defense, look at the stats. Look at all the points they allowed.
Bryce, no doubt about it.
Leading up to that.
Malik Neighbors.
Malik Neighbors or no Malik Neighbors.
But it changes the way a defense has to play you.
Okay, but now look who you don't have. You don't have – fine. If Malik Neighbors was here, Malik Neighbors, fine. They don't have Andrew Thomas.
I agree.
They don't have Andrew Thomas.
Like I told you, my pick, an anti-Eagle pick as much as it was a pro-Giant pick.
I get that.
They're in shambles.
I pray. I will go to sleep thinking about your prediction and pray to whatever God is out there that comes true. In reality, I don't think it will. And I don't think that this has anything to do with my baseball team over there blowing one of the worst losses and worst games that I've ever seen in my entire life. This was my pick from the start.
You're too young. The Yankees going to be
fine. I witnessed I said this to a few of my friends the other day. Yankees, Giants, Knicks. Guess which team of those 3 have suffered the most frustrating losses and disappointment?
Because they're always there.
The Yankees.
By the way, there's a good chance by the time the Giants kick off Sunday, the Yankees are in the World Series. So just
I hope that that's the case too, and that would be a miracle at this point because they might lose this series now. But that's neither here nor there. I think the Giants lose this game 29. The offense, I cannot foresee them getting going in this game, Shaun. I just can't. Malik Neighbors or no Malik Neighbors. If you don't have time to throw to him, he won't be a factor. And I do understand, the need and the necessity of getting him the ball in space quickly, getting the ball out of Daniel Jones's hands quickly. What is that going to do? The 3, the 4-yard gains. Daniel Jones is not going to throw past the sticks. 1 completion past 15 yards last week. I understand. No Malik Neighbors.
I got a feeling that Sunday is gonna be a good night. All right. I got a feeling tonight's the night. All right, we will be back with you either Sunday night or Monday morning, Bryce, at Bryce Gelman, at Shaun Morash. I will be probably with no voice from booing Saquon. If you happen to see me in the lot, don't boo me. Come say hello. Let's have a good little Sunday. And by the time we reconvene, let's see what these 2 baseball teams are here in New York. And we'll look ahead next week to the Giants and Steelers. You can follow One Giant Step anywhere podcasts are available. Download, subscribe. You can follow at Bryce Gelman on Twitter, at Shaun Morash on Twitter. Bryce has a Y in it. Shaun has a U in it. We're all over the place. Our parents love the vowels. What can you do? What can you say? And away we go. Bryce, we'll see you after a Giant Eagle game, buddy. Thank you, everybody, for taking one giant step with us.